sports fans? All right, we're good to go, Aaron? Okay, thank you. We are in session. We just came from executive session, so I don't have to do that. Call the meeting to order. We're already in order. I would ask you all to please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Now please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. It's great to see a whole bunch of people here. For public participation, I need to read this so that everyone is aware. Persons wishing to address the Board of Education must sign up prior to the start of the public participation. Speakers must register on the form provided by the district at the entrance of the boardroom to maintain a first-come, first-served process. For purposes of following up with the speakers must provide their name, address, telephone number, and/or email address. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed during public participation, the speakers will provide the topics. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. You'll find this sign-up sheet in the boardroom when we reconvene over there, okay? So one more thing I need to do is a reading of the emergency evacuation procedure. In case of an emergency, would everyone please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building? Please stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any emergency vehicles. Thank you for that. Item 2 on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. So I need a motion, please, to approve this evening's agenda. Elizabeth, second by Lisa. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. I heard some ayes over here too, so thank you. Next is we get to recognize some very talented people in this district. So we'll begin with Dewey Weimer to do the first couple. So Dewey, if you would please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dewey Weimer, Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics, and I serve to champion courage, respect, and resilience, empowering others. Before I begin, we did have an opportunity in the boardroom to recognize our Blue Devil of the Day, who is Coach Arnett's. Congratulations, Coach. So before I invite them up here, this was a nomination from one of our parents. Coach Arnett's is a vibrant, dedicated, and resilient leader who deeply cares for every student in her care, whether in the school or unified sports. She consistently brings 100% energy, and you're going to see that tonight, I'm sure, fostering inclusion and cheering on all participants, making each one feel valued and supported. So Coach Arnett's took over this program like 3 years ago. Maybe it was the second year after our pilot, and it's just grown and blossomed. So now they are the Section 5 Far East champions. Can you believe that? So I'm going to have Coach Arnett's and the Unified Bowling Team come on up. Right down here.
Get those banners over there. Okay. Showcase those seniors. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get another big round of hand of applause for my friends up here? Thank you to the Board of Education for allowing me the great honor of showcasing our incredible Victor Unified Bowling Team. I am so proud to present to you tonight the Far East champions, the Victor Unified Bowling Team of 2024. We are a comprehensive team of 26 students representing athletes from a variety of programs in grades 9 through 12. Each athlete and partner contributed to this year's successful season, not only with pin totals, but with laughter, secret handshakes, celebration dances. Anybody want to do any celebration dances? I got one. All right. Woo! All right. Kind words and always encouraging support. Please join me in a round of applause after I read each of the names of our students. Some, unfortunately, couldn't make it with us tonight, but I would like to acknowledge their participation. I encourage our students who are, though present, please wave and enjoy this moment in the sun. In the 9th grade, we have Josephine Arnitz, Kyle Helmer, Jake Helmer, and Landon Renkert. 10th grade, Giovanni Bermudez, Grayson Rowan, and now a slew of 11th graders. Chaz Allen, Gianna Arnitz, Gavin DeJesher. You didn't want to do a little guitar solo there? I don't. No, Gavin does. I have a guitar. All right, let's Sam Donalfo, Jake Eilertson, Casey Haig, Tenzin Jordan, Janice Koo, who is with us. Wait a minute, where is Casey? Josh Letman, MJ Lord, Darian Mills, Olivia Nicholson, Ashna Rahman, Ronan Erkwitz. He did that with every single throw down the alley, right? It was amazing. Evelyn Van Manen, Jocelyn Weimer, Jacob Van Rensselaer, and last but not least, Mr. Cam Petty, Nicholas Pisano, and Jerry Utley. Thank you. Oh, I'm not done. You know I talk a lot. Thank you, athletes and partners, for a most memorable season. Watching this team come together, encouraging one another from each frame to visualize success, to tie their shoes, to place the ramps, or to share in the excitement is truly a gift to all of us who do Unified. Tonight, though, I want to take a moment to highlight a couple seniors. Jerry Utley, you are truly Mr. Unified. He is a senior athlete and is asking his mother to email me as early as July to find out when he can be registered for Unified Bowling. He is always the first to sign up. Love to do that again. Good. Unfortunately, though, Jerry is going to be leaving us this year as he transitions to his post-secondary setting. But his dad jokes and his kind heart are always going to be the sounds that resonate in the minds and throughout the alley. Nicholas Pisano, who is unfortunately not here, he's another senior athlete. He joined us last year. Through some encouragement from his teacher, Mrs. Morsheimer, and knowing the promises of new friendships could be formed through this sport while fortifying his old ones, he joined again and was a contributing factor to each score. Cam, my final senior. He is truly the backbone of this team. Cam has a competitive spirit and consistently believed in this team throughout the years. Cam joined as a freshman, and in his classroom, he currently proudly presents the earned 4th and 2nd place trophies. However, this year, no face was brighter than when we took home the 1st place winning trophy with a team score of 2,859 pins. We had 248 pins over 2nd place Canandaigua. Woohoo! But he's already challenged that other champion schools, I believe it was Webster, right, Cam? From the other divisions to see really who is the best. This year's success could not be possible without the support of Dewey Weimer, Mike Ferrari, Georgia Turner, the Victor Transportation Department, and also Canandaigua Transportation Department, who helped us out when we needed a bus. But also Sean Stalker, Eric Wacob, Jen Possel, Cher Fosco, Corey Grant, Fred Finter, Cassidy Brennan, Emily Morsheimer, but last but not least, our parents. The parent section at each Unified match could rival the support of the student section at any event here on campus. Thank you to all of these individuals for your support. It truly makes all the difference when the students turn around and see you cheering them on. This team is like no other on campus, and if you have never been to a unified event, I challenge you. I want to encourage you to check out as many of these athletes and partners this spring trade these bowling uniforms for basketball jerseys and take their talents down the court. It's truly a remarkable experience, and everyone needs to see what unified sports are all about. Thank you for this time. Thank you for showcasing these great kids in this venue. It's truly a gift. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. I know, not right now though, okay? Can I get a Victor on 1, 2, 3? Victor!
I have to do the peace sign for the Victor thing. I don't know how else to do.
You know, you can sell it by saying that's the Victor V.
That's literally what it is. Ow. Okay. Ouch. Not really. Yep.
Grab yourself. Okay, you bet.
I'll do the peace sign for the V.
You got the next one.
I got one more, yep. I'll second Coach Arnett's challenge. It is one of the highlights of the year watching our unified teams compete. So congratulations again to that program. We're gonna shift gears, staying with our fall season. I have one girl swimmer that we're going to introduce along with Coach Leader. So if I could have Meredith Hogan and Coach Leader come down to the podium, please. Meredith here. Okay. Before we begin with Coach Leader and his sectional champion, Meredith, this program has been growing over the last couple of years thanks to Coach Leader's leadership and the outstanding student-athlete Meredith has been in the way that she's presented herself and represented herself both in competition and now in her leadership with that. This team earned the conference championship on their own this year. No co-championships for the first time since 2009. So it's a long time coming to have this program earn that championship outright. So congratulations. I'm going to hand it over to Coach Leader.
All right. Thank you for having us and for inviting me to speak on behalf of Meredith. I know the agenda is pretty packed tonight, and I've been asked to keep it short. It'll be difficult to paint a full picture of exactly what Meredith has meant to me as a coach, has meant to our swim program, and has meant to the Victor community in such a short amount of time, but I will do my best. Meredith has been a part of the varsity swim team for 5 seasons. During that time, she has enjoyed a nearly unimpeachable career and amassed numerous awards and honors. She's been an 8-time Class A sectional champion, a 4-time individual New York State championship qualifier, and a 13-time New York State finalist. She went undefeated in dual meet races during her senior season and won another 2 sectional titles, leading the Monroe County coaches to vote her as the Monroe County Swimmer of the Year and the Class A coaches to vote her as the Class A Swimmer of the Meet at her culminating championship. She's been selected to her 3rd consecutive All-Greater Rochester team, and this year received the honor of being named the AGR Swimmer of the Year. Her accomplishments in the pool are many, but these accolades and achievements are not what I will remember the most about Meredith. I will remember the moments when she began to realize that she was a special type of athlete, and the humility with which she accepted the fact that she was now somebody who swimmers, not just on her team, but around the section and around the state as well, both revered as a person and feared as a competitor. I will remember her doing things the right way and seeing through her commitment to our program. I will remember sharing the last few weeks of our final season together at the pool, preparing for one last splash in high school swimming. And I'll remember that she was always there to give us the competitive boost we all needed at the times we needed it most, with enough energy and positivity for us all. We will be saying goodbye to one of the best athletes and to one of the finest people I've ever known and who has ever passed through the ranks here at Victor. I'm truly grateful that she's had the opportunity to affect so many people around her in such positive ways and for the lasting legacy she will leave with our program by way of her efforts and her perpetual enthusiasm. Meredith, congratulations on all of your well-earned success, and thank you so much for being such a worthy example of the culture we have all built together here at Victor. Thank you.
Okay, let's continue with some more amazing talent here at Victor. I'll ask Kristen Melema and Gretchen Judge to come down, please.
Myself, Kristen Melema, and Laura Brewer would like to recognize these outstanding Victor Junior and Senior High music students for their outstanding achievements. First, we invite our NISMA Conference All-State students forward. NISMA Conference All-State students were selected through a rigorous solo evaluation and ranked among the best performers in the state of New York. They spent last weekend rehearsing here in Rochester and performing at the Eastman Theater with top students from New York. They were additionally recognized last week by Spectrum News because one of the news reporters saw that 6 students from Victor were selected to the New York All-State Ensembles, which is a very large number for any school district. So they called to see if they could come in and honor our students in an extra special way. Please join me in congratulating our NISMA Conference All-State students. Oh, a picture of just that. Yeah, can you guys just stay there? I'd like to invite our junior high and senior high area All-State students down to be recognized as well. These junior high and senior high All-State students went through a similar audition round through Solo Festival where they are rigorously evaluated on a solo, on scales, and on sight reading. These students scored among the best in the greater Rochester area. They spent a weekend rehearsing and performing with other selected students from this part of New York State, and all enjoyed a wonderful, enriched musical experience. Please join me in congratulating them for their fine work.
Yeah, do a third row.
Okay, next we'll have Jeremy Hawkinson come up, please. Jeremy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeremy Hawkinson, theater director, English teacher at the high school. Here's our very special group of young theater practitioners. We just wrapped a production of Snow Angel. Sometimes it's hard to produce a play with little name recognition, but everyone was really up to the task this year and created a really special production, I think. It's fun to introduce audiences and kids to new works. We started in September with 16 scripts at a table and put together a really wonderful and touching production. So cast and crew, I know you've gotten a lot of great feedback. It's certainly well-deserved. We have Sean Carhart, Ariana Edwards, our student director, Aurora Gans, Paige Papajohn, Tessa Pioni, Jillian Doyle, Mia Ibrahimovic, Tippett Reinson, Rebecca Martz, Kayla Springer, and Jaden Smith. Also, special thanks to Mr. Denner, Mr. Wolf, Mr. Isaacs, Mrs. Sentif, Mr. Coughlin for working behind the scenes. Thanks to Mr. Siesto at the high school for always supporting our theater program. To the board, Dr. Terranova, thanks for this continued recognition. Maureen and Kim, thanks for putting this together. We're off and running with Spam-A-Lot auditions next week, so we'll see you in March for that. Big round of applause for cast and crew of Snow Angel. All right.
Sorry, I got stuck in the corner for a minute. Okay, Leanne Berkmeyer, please. There we are.
Come on down, guys. Okay, I have a lot to say, so I'm just going to start. I'm Leanne Berkmeyer, English teacher at the high school and junior high musical director. I'd like to thank Dr. Terranova and the Board of Education for supporting our theater program. I'd also like to recognize and thank the entire production team who put so much work, time, creativity, and talent into our show this year. Christy Gordon and Eric Dahlstrom designed, built, and painted our set. Karen Mellema created and tailored our costumes. Sarah Piscani was in charge of hair and makeup and wigs. If you saw the show, we've never done a show with so many wigs. Raise your hand if you wore a wig in this show. Like, if you wore a wig in the show. Mr. Main, our producer, Mr. Isaacs, our technical director, and our assistant tech director, Ted Shaw. Tim Coughlin, our stage technician, Sarah Riley, our amazing piano accompanist, Sherry Bishoping, our choreographer who got every single student in this show dancing, Laura Brewer, our orchestra director, who gives not only our cast but also so many talented student musicians this unique experience. There are not a lot of junior high productions that do full shows. Most junior highs or middle schools do junior productions. None of them get the experience of working with a live orchestra, and for that we are so grateful and so lucky. and Anthony D'Agostino, our fantastic vocal director. I also had 4 awesome high school students help out this year. Eliza Kostecki and Vivian Sismanowitz were my student directors. Sadie Repass and Caitlin Moran helped with dance rehearsals and choreography. Can we wave, Sadie? And I'm just really so lucky to work with all of them, especially the kids who perform or do stage crew in the junior high productions and then continue on to help out when they're high school students and then participate in the high school productions. It's just really great to see that growth. I'm also so lucky to have such a supportive and helpful group of parents of all of our cast and crew members. This is only, honestly, a small number of them. There's close to 100 kids when you add in the orchestra students, the stage crew, the hair and makeup crew. So they're not all here tonight, but it is a really, it's a large undertaking, and those parents really have to commit to the time that their kids have committed to. We can never put on the shows we do without our parental support. The Addams Family was a big undertaking with a huge ensemble cast. It truly was an effort in teamwork, commitment, and dedication. I think it's probably one of the best learning experiences junior high kids can have. So incredibly proud of what these kids were able to create together in just over 2 months. It truly is my pleasure to work with all of you, watching you grow and improve each rehearsal and through each year. So just congratulations to all of you. That's a wrap. Do I have time for a super fast story? I'm just going to tell you anyway. If you were there Friday night, you saw the regular performance. If you came on Saturday, we had one student who was one of our leads, and she knew Friday night she wasn't feeling well, and she came in Saturday morning, and she could speak mostly, but she could not sing, and she had a lot of singing parts. And one of my student directors, Vivian, literally, I looked at her and I'm like, can you sing it? And she was like, I think so. And she practiced with Mrs. Brewer and Mr. D'Agostino, literally ran the song 1.5 times. And Sammy Piotrowski, who was ill, managed to perform the acting and did all of the dancing, and she lip-synced the singing. And Vivian was backstage with a view of Sammy and a view of Mrs. Brewer and pulled it off miraculously. Like, I was crying because, first of all, I mean, that's a huge feat to just step up and do that. But also, Sammy, I was like heartbroken that she didn't get all 3 of her performances, but that she still got to perform. And that was like theater magic. So I'm just like so proud of these kids and all the kids who supported them. Anyway.
Good job, Mrs. Can I be out of the picture? Go on like your knees or something. I don't know if that's just right here. This is a lot of people.
Okay, well, so I'm always impressed with the talent that we have here in Victor Central Schools. This is amazing. So you one last chance to raise the roof for all these talented kids. Woo-hoo! All right, we're going to take a pause in our action. We'll reconvene in the boardroom. You can come and join us or not, your choice. You won't want to miss the superintendent's update. That's next up on the agenda. Thanks. Okay, we continue. We are at item 4 on our agenda, Superintendent's Update. Dr. Terranova, please. I tried selling it in the other room.
Thank you, Mr. DeLucia. I get confused because we start right away with me when we come from the auditorium.
Yeah.
I just have to.
You want an agenda?
No, I got one actually.
Okay.
So, first of all, a huge shout out to our students who were recognized tonight. Athletics, musical awards, performing arts. Just again, an illustration of a comprehensive school district that values everything that kids can do that's positive and try to embrace their opportunities in life. So it's just an amazing thing, and real big thank you to the board for having all of them recognized tonight. My only other update is I want to give a brief update on our advocacy that's really being led by this Board of Education. One of the major sources of revenue is state aid or foundation aid, and the state is basically redoing the formula for foundation aid. A year after we were finally able to get 100% of the previous formula granted to us to help us with our budget. So we're a little nervous, obviously, about how the state's going to do that. And our board has taken the lead around advocacy with state legislators to really get the word out about how important the state aid is to Victor Central School District. So, in fact, this morning we met with Senator Samra Brook over Zoom. Many of the board members were participating in that. Next week we have a meeting with Assemblyperson Andrea Bailey. We also have a meeting on Thursday of next week with Senator Pam Helming, and on Friday with Assemblyperson Jennifer Lunsford. So what we're trying to do is make sure legislators, whether they're state senators or assembly people, understand that we're one of the few districts that has a stable enrollment that's increased significantly in the past 20 to 25 years. Many other districts have lost enrollment. We're one of the few districts that was not fully funded through state aid in previous renditions of that aid, and only this year is the first year that we're actually 100% funded by the state. So we've lost millions and millions of dollars compared to other districts in the past. And our district has made significant contributions with tax dollars, including, I would believe, the only district, at least on the western part of the state, that was able to exceed the tax cap twice successfully in 2016 and 2020. So, and like every other district, we have significant increases in complexity of student needs that we need to support. So these facts really lead us, and the board is taking a lead on this, to send the message that we need at least inflationary increases with foundation aid over the next several years. We're not asking for 8%, 10%, 12%. We're asking for inflationary increases so that we can successfully support the existing staff that we have and the needs that we have in this unique community, like I said, that has grown tremendously in the past 20 years. So I really appreciate the board advocating with me around these points. And the other piece that we talked about today was the whole concept of zero emission busing. We are all fans, I think, especially of trying to sustain our environment and do things appropriately. However, they have created a process, a potential process in the state that could cost the entire state billions of dollars, and certainly Victor Central School District millions of dollars, by having a electric bus initiative where we would need to shift over to completely electric buses in the next 12 to 13 years. Thanks to board leadership, I've approved a study of our own bus transportation systems through a company called Polaris, which is going to take a deep dive into our district's busing needs and the cost to switch to electric buses of over 80 buses, and what that really means in dollars and cents to this district. It'll take a little while to get this study done, as I told the board today, but once we have that information, we'll be better able to join other districts and speak to the immense cost of shifting to a full electric bus transportation system, and really the state not having the money to afford it, and us having to spend millions out of our own general fund, which obviously we don't have room to do based upon what I just talked about with the foundation aid. So that's a long-winded answer to thank you to the board for our continued advocacy. This will be the first rounds of meetings with the state legislators, and then we plan on doing a second round somewhere between January and February before, and possibly early March, before the final budget is approved in April. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the meeting with the Advocacy Committee and the Legislative Committee. So that's my Board of Ed update, and appreciate the time.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Very informative, as usual. Next item is public participation. We have Maureen going back to check to see if anyone signed up. Anyone? Anyone? No one. Okay. So we're skipping item number 5. Item 6 is acceptance of consent items, 6A through I. Can I have a motion to accept these consent items, please?
So moved.
Christopher? Second?
Lisa.
Lisa? Any comments or questions on any of these items?
I'd like to, if possible, just mention a couple things from the personnel agenda, Mr. DeLucia.
Absolutely.
First of all, I want to recognize 3 retirements. Retirement of Ann Steckel, a foreign language teacher at the high school who does an amazing job. Michelle Lindsay, our fantastic library media specialist at the primary school, is retiring. Both of them are retiring at the end of the school year, along with Linda Bawalda, who is an outstanding school bus driver who's retiring in January. So I want to recognize those 3 people. As we always say, we lose so much when people retire, and the experience and the great work that they do with kids. But we know that they're making the right decision for their families, and hopefully they'll come back and sub for us. And I also want to recognize the appointment of Catherine Selleck, who is tonight going to be approved by the board to be the confidential secretary to the superintendent of schools and district clerk, effective January 6th. As everyone knows, no one can replace Maureen Goodberlet, and she's still here for another month after this month, so we'll have plenty of time to recognize her. But if we need to carry on without her, I can't find a better person and a more wonderful successor than Kate. So we're really excited to have Kate in that position. Thank you.
Other comments? See none, all in favor say, I'm sorry.
Just a thank you to the Victor Cheerleaders, the Booster Cheerleaders Association, for a very generous donation of $1,250, and also a thank you to TOPS for their donation to the district as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 7 is campus news. We did not have enough snow for a snow day, so they're all here.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks to my administrative colleagues for allowing me to go first. My name is Dewey Weimer. I serve to champion courage, respect, and resilience, empowering others as the Victor Central Director of Health Education, Physical Education, and Athletics. This past fall, again, it sounds like a broken record, but I'm so proud of this statistic. 100% of our varsity athletes, varsity teams earned scholar athlete status. That's now 21 consecutive seasons. 77% of our varsity rosters had 90% or higher GPA, with a cumulative GPA of 95.12. It's an amazing statistic to hear that. All the great work they do in competition, and then hear how they're excelling in the classroom is just phenomenal. Next Friday, December 20th, is our 4th annual Scott Zahn Memorial Classic. This year it's being hosted at Canandaigua Academy. Girls are tipping off at 5:30, boys at 7:30. This includes our basketball programs and our cheerleading programs. All proceeds benefits the Canandaigua Churches in Action and the Victor Farmington Food Cupboard. All of our online tickets are available now. And then also all of our winter teams are currently in action. We're once again exceeding the expectation with our participation numbers. We're at 600 student athletes, and actually it's counting. I had a couple student athletes' families reach out to me today, wondering if we would open up registration, which my coaches agreed to, so which is phenomenal to hear that. So we're 600 and counting, 56 coaches and staff, 26 teams this winter, and we have about 604 years experience. I do want to just finally say thank you to the Board of Education and Dr. Terranova for allowing us to honor our programs. The Unified team, as you can see, is really the highlight of the year in the fall for the bowling and in the spring with the basketball. And anyone in attendance watching online, if you do have that opportunity to come and watch one of those events, it's just one of the most impressive things you'll ever see, and it'll make you so proud to be here at Victor Central. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Rob DeRose, the principal of the Early Childhood School. Mr. DeLucia mentioned a snow day today. We didn't have one, you're right, but it was a wintry start to the day. And the kids at the ECS, when they come in on a day like this morning, they kept saying, "It's a snow day." And it was a lot of fun. It was a wintry arrival, but thanks to our awesome bus drivers and our security team out front, we really had a smooth process and got our kids in safely to start their day here at the ECS. That being said, at the ECS, teachers have been partnering with our students' families for parent-teacher conferences. These conferences are an integral part to a successful school year, and they help to ensure that teachers and families are working together as a team toward a common goal, which is a positive year filled with academic, social, emotional, and behavioral excellence for each child. These conferences are successful thanks to the efforts of our teachers. They've put countless hours into completing their students' progress reports and in preparing for the parent-teacher conferences and meeting their children's families once again. We're grateful to have such a dedicated and passionate group of teachers here at the ECS. UPK students, teachers, and families have had some busy school weeks leading up to the break. This week, students have been participating in the annual Holidays Around the World event in our boardroom with the support of countless family volunteers. Next week, the UPK program will welcome families and visitors to our auditorium for the annual sing-along event. This is a highlight of the school year. Students have been hard at work for weeks now, rehearsing a host of songs that celebrate the holiday season. Families in attendance are in for a heartwarming and joy-filled celebration. I'd also like to give the board an update on one of our school's areas of focus this year, which is around professional learning communities, or PLCs. Laura Reynolds, our assistant principal, and I are facilitating PLC meetings each Tuesday with groups of teachers. During these PLC meetings, teachers are engaging in collaborative discussions using assessment data to make instructional decisions. One example of this is the use of eDoctrina for math assessments at first grade. First grade assessment data is organized by standard and coded by student performance. Teachers within a PLC can quickly identify areas of strength as well as areas that need continued focus. These database conversations are an important step in ensuring that all students receive the support, intervention, and enrichment that they need to be successful and as successful as possible. In collaboration with our assistant principal, Laura Reynolds, this work has been supported and led by our math AIS teachers, Courtney Coyne and Kim McConnell, as well as our director of math and science, Carrie Goodell. Lastly, on behalf of everyone at the ECS, we'd like to wish our entire Board of Education, our fellow educators, and our Victor Farmington community a happy, safe, and wonderful holiday season. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Heidi Robb, the principal at the primary school. And this month, I would like to highlight two groups of people. The first is our PTSA. PTSA is always asking me how they can support our students and our staff here at the primary school. And so I want to just share with you a few ways that they've done that recently. The first is in November, right before Thanksgiving break, they paid to have all of our third graders see an online concert. And the concert celebrated different cultures and their music. And it was really exciting for our third graders to see this because they were right in the middle of a culture unit. In addition, they helped us have Jane Gaffel, an author, visit our school, and today was her second visit. She shared a message that's that we're more alike than we are different. She has cerebral palsy and her speech is impacted. Her cousin accompanies her to visit to help out with the communication. She wrote a book that's called Just Like You, and the students learn that cerebral palsy is part of Jane's identity, but it does not define who she is. It doesn't limit her either. The visit came shortly after our third graders completed their humanities unit that had a focus on identity. It was a great learning experience for our students. PTSA also purchased pizza for our teachers on that evening conference day, which is a really nice treat for those teachers. So a huge thank you to PTSA. The next group I want to highlight tonight are our teachers. Similar to the ECS, we've had our parent-teacher conferences, and it's report card season. So this season comes with an incredible amount of time and thought that goes into those report cards, preparing those conversations and documents. And they offer a time to celebrate the progress of our students and also highlight areas of needed growth. I'm so proud of our teachers, their hard work with our students, and the way in which they collaborate with families. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Morrow, and I'm the principal of the intermediate school. First, I want to highlight the Books at Breakfast event that we hosted in November that was sponsored by our wonderful PTSA. So this was a fantastic success with our students and families coming together to enjoy breakfast while celebrating the joy of reading. It was a wonderful way to promote literacy and engage our community in an enjoyable and meaningful way. Thank you to everyone who participated and helped to make this a big success for all. Next, I wanted to share some positive feedback from our parent-teacher conferences. It's been wonderful to witness the great collaboration between our teachers and parents, all working together to ensure that every student has the support they need to be successful. A highlight of these conferences this year has been the number of student-led conferences that we've seen. These conferences are empowering our students to take ownership of their learning by presenting their own progress and showcasing all the hard work that they've been putting in. It's been inspiring to not only share a lot of the things that they've been really successful with and their accomplishments, but also identify themselves the areas where they can recognize they can make growth as well. Looking ahead, we are eagerly anticipating our orchestra concert on December 18th. This will be a great opportunity for our students to showcase their musical talents, and we hope many families and community members will join us in celebrating all their hard work and dedication. Finally, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the generosity and community spirit that shines through in our district, especially around this time of year. It's really heartwarming to see the outpouring of support for our local community. From food collections to our Giving Tree program, our students, staff, and families are making a real difference. The connection between our school and the greater Victor community is incredibly strong, and it's moments like these that remind us of the positive impact that we're having on our community and all those around us. Thank you for your continued support, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Key, the principal of the junior high school. And some of my sentiments are going to echo a little bit of what Jim just said about the connectedness between our school community and the greater Victor and Farmington communities. But as a quick reminder, we have three main goals at the junior high. Two of those are really around continuing to have really open lines of communication with our students and our staff. So I wanted to share a couple updates with that. And then the other is really that connectedness between kids and their teams with one another and also with their teachers. So we just did our second pulse survey for faculty and our second student check-in this past week. And this time we asked the exact same questions of our teachers that we did of our students. What were you super proud of in the first 10 to 15 weeks of school? How much are you able to engage in your learning when you're in the classroom? Teachers, how much do you think your students are able to engage? So just a very few brief highlights. 74% of our teachers reported that the students are highly engaged, a 4 or 5 score out of a possible 5 in their lessons. And students reported 83% said that they feel as though they are highly engaged in their learning. So that right there, teachers and kids are on the same page for the most part with engagement. Other things that they said about what they were proud of, most of them talked about relationships. Teachers noted almost exclusively that they were most proud of the connections that they had been making with their students, and the students reported that they were very proud of the connections they're making with their friend groups, but also in a lot of cases with their teachers. In areas of improvement, teachers noted that attendance is probably the biggest barrier to them feeling like they can be the most successful. They truly believe if students are in front of them, they can do great things. So we really want to try to focus in on how do we continue to have those students who struggle to get to school on a regular basis attend. And students mentioned that they honestly could put in a little more effort in certain areas. And some of them actually noted that they could make an effort to be a little bit kinder to each other, which I thought was a really nice piece. Outside of that, we've had a number of things happening or coming up that are all really built around that connectedness. Our Green 7 team is partnering with our PTSA to do a Caught Being Kind activity where students are going to be rewarded, so to speak, caught being kind, and they get their name entered into an opportunity for a small prize at the end of each week, and those prizes are being provided by the PTSA, which is fantastic. All of our teams are involved in a food drive to help support the local Victor Farmington food cupboard and needy families at this time of year. Jim mentioned the Giving Tree. 83 of our teachers, or 83 gift cards, were collected and organized for us out of the junior high this year. We're very proud of that. We had 3 teachers participate in our last concert with our orchestra this year. Dan Taylor, Joe Costanza, and Nate Van Kallenberg all play guitar. So they jumped on stage and played along with our student musicians. It's a huge highlight and a nice connectedness for our kids. Next week, we have students traveling to hallways and classrooms in small combos as musicians to play for teachers who signed up. So this way we can have our students playing for one another, but also bringing that to our classroom community. And last but not least, if you are available on Monday, somewhere around 11 o'clock at the mall, our ensembles will be over and we're taking the show on the road. It's their one traveling gig a year, really, and they're going to be at the Eastview Mall on Monday. I believe they start performing around 11, and they'll wrap up performances a little bit before 1. So very busy week, but also very exciting things. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Sesto, principal at Victor Senior High School. Brian just referenced it, but next week is the culmination of the annual holiday food drive. A very big thank you to the Victor Senior High School Student Council for organizing this massive event, and to the other schools and the departments and the entire Victor Farmington community who is so generous with contributing items. This year, we anticipate close to 150 families, which is the most ever, are going to benefit from our food drive. So special thanks to Daniel Westbrook, John Aldrich, and Kaya Bowerman for the work they're doing to make this wonderful tradition continue. Also, a very brief shout out just to recognize again the incredible performance groups who contributed to our holiday cheer. Last month, of course, we just saw we had 2 successful stage productions. This coming Monday, we have our high school orchestra and chorus concert. So thank you to our performing arts teachers, students, and volunteers for their artistic creativity. A separate music recognition, every year, the top singers from the area high schools are invited to join the High School Festival Choral and perform alongside the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra at the annual Gala Holiday Pops concert. It's this coming Saturday night. This year, the most ever that we've sent, 10 Victor Senior High School choir members were selected. Griffin Allen, Katie Carroll, Colin Isaacs, Maddie Law, Tessa Natale, Giovanni Parent, Anna Riley, Dakota Sarr, Elena Selvik, and Jaden Smith. And Mr. Anthony DiAgostino, who is a choir teacher at the junior high school, is going to be one of the choral directors. So congratulations to that group. It's a great representation. And finally, I just want to extend a sincere thank you to the Board of Education for your visit last Tuesday. Our teachers honestly get very excited to interact with our board members, not only during the morning coffee time, but especially during the classroom visits. We're hoping that you were able to see some examples of the culture work that we're emphasizing this year, as well as the focus that we have on standards-based and highly engaging activities during our lessons. I did have a teacher who sought me out at the end of the day and said, and I quote, "The board members clearly care about what's happening in our schools. They show a genuine interest in the education of the students, and they care about us as individuals." So I just want to say sincerely thank you for the visits that you've done this year and in previous years, and we look forward to having you again next year. So have a great holiday season. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. There you have the December edition of Campus News. Jingle bells. Stay tuned for the January Campus News as we click over to 2025. Next item, 7B, new course proposal and approval. We'll listen to the Carrie and Chris show first, and then we'll do the motion and vote. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Carrie and Chris show. I know. Take that on the road. Good evening. I'm so excited to be here tonight with Chris Weiss to present our course proposal for Data Structures and Algorithms, or DSA, as we call it day to day. This is a unique course proposal for Victor High School. It's not a course proposal being added into a department that has a really extensive course catalog. This is the first step of an exciting growth action plan that we developed last year with a computer science program review. That action plan will enhance our current program into an even more unique and cutting-edge academic pathway that prepares students for experiences in a professional field that advances every single day. Sincere thanks to Brian Siesto, Karen Finter, Dr. Terranova, and the Board of Education, and all of the members of our program review for supporting this vision. A special thank you to Chris Weiss, who's been a great partner in this work. His passion and pride in this program has a lasting impact on our students and our future every single day. Chris is going to share the rationale and our intended instructional focus for the course because, as my son Andrew says, what they do in DSA is over my head. So.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Weiss, teacher at the senior high school. Carrie stole my thank yous. I was going to thank all those people. But additional thank yous, one to Carrie. I mean, she spearheaded this from day one. When she jumped into her role, she came down the hall. I remember that. She's like, "Chris, is it time to expand? Can we expand? What do you think?" And my life is now in a stable spot. My kids are getting older, and I could put in the time, and we're well past due. And we'll get into this in a second. I do also want to add to my parent supports. Carol Prescott has been a huge supporter. Her sons came through my program, and Aaron Owens, too, a very big parent support in the district. So we need a village to do this stuff, and it's all the help. Like Brian mentioned, the board come in, it's a great highlight. My students love seeing you come in, and this is the second time you come to my classroom. I think everyone on the board has been in my classroom, so it's really kind of cool to see that. And you saw the energy of my classroom, and it's just a microcosm of the high school. So thanks again. All right, so our rationale for growing this department, we all know technology is not going away. It's only getting bigger, and it's getting scarier, too, with AI coming into play as well. But the second bullet really sums it up. In the next 10 years, 25% of jobs are going to be increasing in computer science. That's a lot. It's a lot of opportunities. I would say right now 60% of people who've gone through my program are in the field, which is really cool. To flash back, so I started here in 2012. I only had 16 students in my classroom. 16. Now we're at 120 without even having the freshmen in play, which is really cool. So we're busting at the seams. This is well past due. It's just everything. It's beyond computer science. Because some of my students won't go into computer science, but it's about how to make them think, how to deconstruct the problem and make them more successful in the future. And that's really what it's at. If they become a software engineer, computer scientist, great. But at the end of the day, they're going to learn a lot. They can become better thinkers, better people in the community, and better citizens, which is always the ultimate goal. Now, let me give you an overview of where we've been and where we're going to go, hopefully. So right now, as it stands, we have Comp Sci 1 and 2, Computer Science 1 and 2, for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. AP Computer Science is for students who've successfully completed Comp Sci 1 and 2. And then last year, we'd have independent study if you successfully completed that cycle and you were just stuck. You had nowhere else to go. So last year, I had 12 students do an independent study. So they co-seated with me in my AP course and my Comp Sci 1 course, and I just pushed them with extra work, Toby being one of those students. So Carol can speak to that. And then we Carrie and I were talking, and right now I have 32 students in the pilot program of data structures and algorithms. That would have been 32 students without an option this year in computer science. So we actually provided a serious need at the high school, and it's only going to grow. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. So right now where we stand is we have Comp Sci 1 and 2. We have AP Computer Science, and we have pilot in data structures and algorithms, which is going beyond successful, better than I can even imagine. A lot of excitement with the students, a lot of push. They were so happy to see the board because I was like, this is the reason why we have this option, the support of admin, the support of the board. So it's just a major gap that was needed. I'll get into why I chose data structures and algorithms in a minute. That was a detailed process and a very long process and what to go and where to go. And then down the road, because now we're going to have students complete DSA, and then they're going to need a fourth course, hopefully, and that's hopefully down the road in the near future. And then we could talk about where we're going there as well. But it's there. It's time. But what's cool is I love when we're ahead of the game. I hate as a district if we're ever reactive, but we're so proactive here. This is not common in this region, not common in New York State. I came from Long Island. I used to teach in Long Island, and they're lucky if they have AP Computer Science in high schools down in Long Island. This is rare that we have 3 courses to offer students. It's a great experience in a field that is just busting at the seams. Okay, so data structures and algorithms. If you're not familiar with computer science, say you would go to RIT, for example. AP Computer Science would be the first course you take at RIT. It's the first semester course. Most of my students test out of it, but then they have a special course for students who test out of their first course for AP students. Then the second semester, they would go on to take data structures and algorithms, which is known in the industry as the make or break course. They try to weed you out in that course to see if you truly can make it 4 years in a computer science degree. So I spoke to tons of alumni, some that were in college, some that were out of college. I really wanted to get the pulse of what's going on right now, what's current. I mean, I think I know what's current. You read articles, you talk to people, but I want to see my trusted alum. I mean, I love all my students. They're so valuable. I tell them they're part of my family. I have an extended family beyond belief. But I picked their brains. They gave me a couple ideas, and I said, what do you think about this? And they all wholeheartedly agreed that it was the right way to go, because it was the toughest course for most of them in college. They survived it. But now we're going to have the experience where they're going to go into the most difficult course in their college experience with confidence, because I'm going to get through most of their curriculum ahead of time, and they're going to go and feel very confident and actually lead the pack, hopefully, in their college of choice. So I think it was a no-brainer, but it was great to hear from my alumni and their perspectives and their opinions from their experiences. So it was just validating to hear them and talk to them and to go with it. If you know stuff about computer science, it really gets into depth about algorithms. So life is about data. We have so much data out there we can utilize, right? And it's how can we efficiently go through data? And then what algorithm can we use, and how can we get through that data the most quickly as possible? Because data gets very large. If you think you work for Chase Bank, you have a terabyte of mortgages out there. How can we sift through that data very quickly? And that's kind of the mindset of this course. How can we efficiently go through data and analyze data, if you cared about the actual content? So about the course, right now it's for 11th and 12th graders, because you would have to take Comp Sci 1 and 2 and AP Comp Sci the first 2 years. So it's geared right now. I have 3 juniors piloting it, and the rest are seniors. You get a full credit. We're talking about we need to update the curriculum, because believe it or not, AP is actually changing the course next year. So some of the stuff I'm doing in DSA is actually going to roll into AP, and some of the stuff they're taking out of AP, I got to bring in DSA. So I'm going to have to make a swap. So that's where the summer work is going to come this coming summer, to really revamp it a little bit to make sure we're aligning with AP, and then even moving forward with data structures and algorithms. And then a long-term goal is, can I connect with can I make it a Gemini co-seated course? Can I connect with RIT? That's down the road. We're still in the early stages, but that'd be a long-term goal to give students even more incentive to take the course. They can get more college credit. So that'd be my big dream, ambition down the road. I don't think we're there yet, just because it's so new. I'm just trying to see how good they are with the material. Can they handle the material at the high school level? And then work-based experiences. I'm trying to connect right now constantly. We're actually partnering with the Victor Education Foundation. We're trying to update their website. So I have a group of 10 students that are working with Keith Partington. He's been a great asset. So we're working with them and just trying to connect beyond the scope of the course. I tell my students, it's bigger than school. It's bigger. It's how can we give back, and how can we keep this momentum going? So that's where we're going. That's where we're headed. It's very exciting. Thank you to Carrie for the program review. Hopefully we can be the model for future program reviews, because I've been part of a lot of program reviews, and it's just a binder that collects dust, and the assistant superintendent's office. But we've been very proactive. It was a great experience, and hopefully I can be an advocate for that experience. Hopefully more teachers take advantage of it because it was an awesome experience. Any questions you have?
Okay, somehow I get the feeling that you're very excited about this. So. Board members?
That's an understatement.
Board members, questions?
I just have a comment. I have to say, like, Mr. Weiss has been the computer science department at the senior high, and we appreciate everything you have done. And you have inspired kids. Like, my son came away from your classes, like, actually wanting to be you, wanting to be a teacher. And, like, that was nowhere near what he was thinking. But he appreciated your guidance and your style and everything that you do. So thank you so much for all you do. And it definitely has been needed because kids would go through the first levels and then they'd get to senior year and have nothing. So he appreciated that independent study. So I love that you let them do that. But having that other course in there is just wonderful. So thank you. It was a year too late for my family, but I am so excited about all the other families who will get it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
I have a question, Chris. Can you walk us through what your course load would be like in a semester then? Because you are the department.
For me? Or
right, for you. Just so that we
yes.
have an understanding of like adding this, what that's going to look like for your
So first of all, kudos to Dorothy for making it work. I mean, it's not easy being in her shoes with a budget, but yeah, so it starts there, right? The hardest part, and I was telling Carrie this for me, was I'm very protective of my work that I do. I have so much passion. I don't want it to crumble because when I started, the vitriol with computer science was real. It was crazy. I had my colleagues saying, don't teach AP. Don't even offer AP. It was the students in the school didn't want to take computer science. It was crazy. So first year, 16 students, I thought it went really well. I'm like, I'm going for it. I have nothing to lose. When I got hired here, Jim Haw said, what's your vision? What's your plan? What's your 5-year plan for computer science? And I laid it out. It actually met most of it. So it was awesome to see the growth of it, going from 16 students to 120 students. So yeah, right now I'm mentoring a teacher. It started last year. Last semester, he was able to shadow with me, which is fun. I think that was the biggest savior. Him seeing how I function, how I work, the routines. He's been a perfect match. He's been phenomenal. He's a gem for the district. Kyle Ingalls is his name. He's a math teacher. Super bright, U of R alum like me. So we have so many connections that we're finding out. But it's been great. So my course load right now is 1 computer science class, 2 AP, and 2 DSA. So that's probably going to change as we grow, which is fine. And then the capital budget going through with we need to add another computer room. That's been a part of the problem because we're minimized in space. We only have so many sections we could offer. So all the stars are aligning right now. So I'm pretty excited about it. And yeah, we're in a good spot, really good spot.
So if this course were to be approved, what would that look like for when it's in effect?
It would be the same. So we're piloting this year. So it would just be the same. So we're in a good spot. Everything is in place right now. It would just continue it.
Okay, and based on student interest, you're able to accommodate everybody who wants to be involved in the program?
Yeah, and we're going to go even bigger this year. I'm going to go down to the junior high and promote it to 8th grade students because we really want to. We have the option of blowing this up, and I think we can. So I think we can really even make it bigger and better. So I'm excited to get to Mr. Gee's building and really pump it up. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's kind of the most exciting part of it is you'll now be able to open this up to younger students, those freshmen who've been wanting to get into computer science for ages. I mean, I've heard tons of kids talk about it, wanting to be able to take that freshman year and just not being able to because of space and limited resources. So this is really exciting to see that we're really expanding this program.
Okay.
One last plug. If you're free on January 17th, Heidi Robb has generously let us come down. We started last year, so Hour of Code. I get the chance to take my students down to invade the primary school, and we mentor every 3rd grade classroom with an hour of coding. So I have 60 of my students that are willing to give up their time in a day. It's Friday, January 17th, and we're down there all day, hour in each classroom. It's a really cool experience. You've never seen it. I think my students almost get more out of it than the 3rd graders because they're so excited to pass it along, and that's where it starts. Can we excite them at that age? So January 17th, if you're free, it's a really cool day, really cool experience. It's worth it. So thank you.
And we will be there. That's our tour.
Yeah.
Come on, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So timing works.
Stars aligning. There we go. You see the full in action. Yeah.
I appreciate that in the proposal for this course, you already outlined what the future is and the potential, so that's not locked in of, yes, let's propose this course, see if we get it passed, but I fully expect to see you at a future board meeting with another proposal for another course or what it's going to look like, because it's all trending in the right direction.
I'm ready. The wheels are in motion. I got ideas. So.
No doubt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a motion to approve this course. Motion, please.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, second. Carol? Any other comments or questions following this great show? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you, folks.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night. Happy holidays.
Jingle bells. Okay, item 7C is the budget development review of the 2025-2026 budget rollover expenses only. Dick Stutzman, please.
As Richard makes his way to the podium, just want to thank him. Mr. Stutzman is a longtime, highly successful superintendent in the Batavia School District, multiple interim superintendencies in the East Rochester School District, and years of experience as a business administrator. He helped us out in the 2021 school year, which had some real challenging financial issues for Victor, and he's helping us out again this fall as we transition to our next assistant superintendent for business. So big thank you to Richard, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Well, it's a pleasure to be back, and I think this is what I did the first time I was here. Second tour of duty, I call it.
There you go.
But we're here tonight. Last month, you passed the budget calendar, so this is the second step. We're going to talk about the rollover budget for 25-26. What we're doing is we're just taking the 24-25 and rolling it over. Now let me see if I can do this. All right. Okay, our goals tonight, the agenda would be the goals of the budget, define what is a rollover budget, the rollover budget itself, we'll get into the numbers, some other financial considerations that we need to take as we move towards the vote in April that the board will have to put this in front of the voters in May, our next steps, and then we'll review the budget calendar. The goals for the 25-26 budget is to develop a budget that enhances a comprehensive education that the Victor Central School District community expects. Improve the alignment of resources towards the district's strategic plan, maintain the stabilization of reserves. In the 4 years I've been gone, what you were able to do with the capital reserve is just awesome. And congratulations, you did a great job. Maximize the use of every dollar spent, maximize the ability to generate aid for future years, and transparency. Going back to the maximize the ability to generate aid, do you buy it outright or do you go through BOCES? Either way, you're going to have to spend the money. But if you go through BOCES, you get aid back on it the next year. So that's all taken into consideration. What is a rollover budget? It's the cost to maintain our existing staffing levels and our personnel contractual changes from the 24-25 school year to the 25-26 school year. It does not have any adjustments made for non-personnel related items such as tuition, supplies and materials, contractual type expenditures, or equipment. It also does not include any retirements. You approved a few tonight. They're not included in the personnel budget, but those will be taken into consideration as we move through the process. And once we find out what our expense needs are, then this will help us to understand what revenues we need to balance the 25-26 budget. So when you look at the rollover budget, our teacher retirement salaries, those are all of those people who are in part of the budget who belong to the teacher's retirement system. The current budget year, it's $36,449,604. In 25-26, looking at the contractual changes, given that you've negotiated successfully your contracts, it would be 37,798,240, which is a change of nearly $1.35 million, or 3.7%. The employee retirement system, those are all of your support people. $14,101,500 is the current budget. Based upon their contracts, it would go to $14,665, which is a $565,000 increase. This is where it gets scary. Our fringe benefits. They go from $25,525,000 to $32,564,000, a little over $3 million, or a 10.29% increase. And I'll explain what those percentages are in a minute. Our total personnel is a little over 80 million currently. It would go a little bit over 85 million in the rollover budget, which is nearly a $5 million increase, which is 6.19%. A year ago, it was 6.72%. Now, this is an easy slide because nothing changes other than debt service. And I talked to Ben at Fiscal Advisors. Our debt service is flat. We lose a little bit. It goes down like $7,200 or 0.1%. So realistically, our other expenditures, which are listed above, would remain flat for the 25-26 school year. I know that's not going to be true because there are cost increases. So our personnel, we just went that at 6.19. Our non-personnel items would be at negative 0.1%. Our budget currently is 103,224,919. The rollover budget would bring that to 108,169,543, which I said was nearly a $5 million increase, which is 4.79%. A year ago, the rollover budget was 4.34. Other financial considerations. These are huge. The three budgetary considerations that have volatility, varying interest rates on investments. You know, 3 years ago, you were lucky to get 1% on your investments in the bank. The last couple of years have gone over, it's gone over 5+. Matter of fact, last year we got nearly $2 million in interest income, but those rates are falling. So how can you realistically budget $2 million knowing darn well that that probably will go down to a far lesser number? We'll have to think about this, but right now that is a caveat with interest. Changes to the teacher's retirement and the employee retirement system contribution rates. Teacher's retirement is projected to be 10% right now. I think that's pretty solid. The employee's retirement is 16%. That, we haven't seen final numbers. I'm hoping that it will go down 1% or 2%, but right now we're budgeting 16%, and this is the big one. Health insurance premiums are 15%. I did talk to the FLAS person who's our contact person, and everybody in the area is budgeting 15%. And if you're spending a little over $1 million a month in healthcare, you do the numbers. It's pretty significant. As far as interest, due to interest rates, the district has experienced year-end surpluses that have resulted in the increased reserves. It was the stimulus money and the interest that helped us finance that capital project. You could use them for one-time expenses, but remember, whatever revenue you put in, it's only a one-year deal. Whatever you're purchasing with that money realistically has to come out of the budget. Otherwise, you have to scramble to find the other revenues to support that. The best way to use your interest would be to fund the reserves, because realistically, down the road, depending on what happens, as Dr. Terranova talked about, the electrification study, we're going to have to upgrade our electric infrastructure coming on campus. And that's not going to be an inexpensive proposition. Hopefully there'll be some grant money for that, but we're going to have to start thinking about some kind of a capital project for that. Pension contributions rates are percent of salaries that are based on how pension funds are performing. These rates can shift dramatically. So there's a potential for sharp increases and decreases. Back when I was a school business official in the 80s, okay, we were paying nearly 20% for teachers' retirement system. We were also getting 17% on our interest too. We will be experiencing a sharp increase, which I explained, with our support staff salaries being 14 million plus. Every 1% adds $140,000. But if it goes down 1%, we also save $140,000. And we should not be budgeting sustainable expenses from our pension contributions. Our next steps, I will be meeting with the departments and buildings for non-personnel budgetary items. We start off with transportation, facilities, and security at our next budget workshop. The Assistant Superintendent for Personnel will meet with the departments and buildings for the personnel budgetary needs. I was able to give Dorothy's office today a list of all the employees that were budgeted in 24-25. They're to update that and adjust any salaries, and then we'll recalculate to determine what our salaries will possibly be in 25-26. Once we do that, we'll calculate the costs, and then I'll present it to Cabinet, and then the Cabinet will review and prioritize the needs as we try to close the gap between our expenditures and our revenues. Once we begin receiving revenue information, the governor's proposal comes out towards the end of January. For next year, we have a better concept of our budgetary parameters. The one thing out there is we don't know what she's going to do with foundation aid, okay? I'm hoping that she at least comes out with inflationary numbers, which is a little over 3%, but who knows? The recommendations will be reviewed by the board twice a month for the next 3 months, with a final recommendation to be adopted by the Board of Education on April 10th. It's a great day, by the way. It's the day I got married. I don't think I'll be here. So here's the outline that we're going to follow, and this is what you guys approved at the last meeting. We'll come back with the revenue and the tax cap calculation. The tax cap calculation we review and you approve on the 27th. I have to submit that on the 28th of February to the state. We'll do a personnel update, but I think for whatever we can do personnel-wise to keep you, up to date, we will do that at each of the meetings with your permission. In fact, we can vary from this a little bit. Mm-hmm. On April 10th, you'll review the final budget and adopt it. On May 6th, you'll have your budget hearing. On the 13th, we'll have voter registration, but on the 20th, you guys will vote for the budget, or the community will vote on the budget. Did I stay within the timeline?
Yeah, you're doing okay.
Questions? It's a lot to throw at you, and it's complicated.
Anyone? Well, the numbers you were kicking around for the 80s, it reminds me of my first mortgage in the 70s. Those high interest rates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No questions? Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
You've done well. Thanks. Okay, item 7D is management plan, special education update. Looks like we have Karen, Shannon, Amanda.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Ryan. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Services, and I'm joined tonight by my colleagues Amanda Tripp and Shannon Marker McMurtry, the Directors of Special Education. Tonight, this presentation will highlight the special education data related to the classification rate and graduation rate for the cohort 2023-24. We'll also look at some special education data related to our current students in this school year, the department goals, and the connection of the department goals to supporting students in the least restrictive environment, implementing research-based instructional practices, and engaging in data-driven problem-solving practices. The district's graduation rate for all students was 96.4% for the 23-24 cohort, with students with disabilities at 77.8%. The state's target rate for students with disabilities is at 75%. Prior to COVID, the graduation rate for students with disabilities ranged in the average range of 55%. There has been a fluctuation in graduation rates over the last 3 years, which can be contributed mostly to a combination of factors around COVID and the state's temporary exemptions and the special appeals for Regents exams. The Special Education Department will continue to build upon a focused effort to ensure consistent graduation improvement for students with disabilities and also for other students at risk populations. When we look at the classification rate for the 23-24 school year, we had 560 students receiving special education student services with a classification rate of 14%. The state's average classification rate sits at 19%, and the classification rate for our neighboring districts in Monroe County ranges from 11% to 14%, with one outlier sitting at one school district sits at a classification rate of 17%. The implementation of a multi-tiered system of supports, known as MTSS, has a significant impact on special education by promoting early intervention and enhancing individualized supports for students. MTSS emphasizes the importance of identifying students that are struggling early on. This proactive approach allows for early intervention to occur and reduces the need for more intensive special education services later on. In January, I will have the opportunity to present to the board the work that the buildings and the district are doing on framing our MTSS processes, and I am looking forward to share that information with you. New York State has Indicator 5. So Indicator 5 emphasizes the rights of students with disabilities to be educated in the least restrictive environment. It tracks the extent for which students with disabilities are included in the general education setting. We're highlighting this indicator this school year is because in the 24-25 school year and next school year, we're moving away from a compliance-based measure to a performance-based measure. So right now, the state frames least restrictive environment as the fundamental right for students with disabilities to receive their special education services and supports in a setting with their general education peers. Only when a student's education cannot be achieved due to the nature of the disability should placements in a special class or a special school be recommended. In Victor, there is a culture of collaboration. There's a strength-based approach that is fostered, and educators, students, and parents work together to create a learning environment where every student can thrive and reach their fullest potential in that least restrictive environment. This slide represents the data from 22-23 school year. It's the most recent data the state has around least restrictive environment. The state looks at 3 settings. They're looking at students who are 80% or more of the day in the gen ed setting. They're looking for students that are less than 40% of the day, and students that are in a separate school. For all 3 categories, Victor exceeded the state targets. When we look at the our current students right now, as of Beds Day, October 2024, we have 541 students receiving special education services. Of those 541, of the 541, 500 students are supported in district in our current programs. There are a range of special education programs and services in Victor that emphasize inclusion and academic success. Of the 541, 365 students are supported in the programs of integrated co-taught, consult teacher model, and resource room. And then there are students also that just receive related services. The district provides a comprehensive support system that ensures students' disabilities can thrive both academically and socially within the general education setting. Within 80% of the day, in the general education setting, the district's approach fosters an inclusive, supportive environment for all students. The 72 students in Victor that spend 40 to 79% of their day in the general education classroom benefit from a mix of general education and specialized services designed to support their unique needs. These models ensure students receive necessary levels of support while being included in the general education setting when appropriate. We have 79 students that spend less than 40% of their day in the general education setting. These students receive highly supportive programs. They're in a smaller setting. They're a more structured environment. They're designed to meet their intensive academic, social, emotional, and behavioral needs. We ensure, the district ensures that these students receive resources, skills, and opportunities they need to be successful both academically and in life after school. We have 20 students currently right now that are placed in a separate school, receiving highly specialized services tailored to their specific needs. These students attend Mary Cariola Children's Center, School of the Holy Childhood, School of the Deaf, and School of the Blind. By collaborating with these schools, the district ensures students in these separate schools are well prepared to transition to adulthood with a focus on vocational training, independent living skills, and social emotional development. My colleague Shannon Markin McMurtry will talk about the special education goals that we are focused on for this school year.
Hi, everyone. So as a special ed department, one area that we have placed a large emphasis on is strengthening our knowledge of research-based instructional practices. These have a direct correlation on supporting students in the least restrictive environment, both academically and social-emotionally. This year, we have worked to build capacity on specialized reading, integrated co-teaching practices, backward planning, and in our highly specialized programs, the use of a viable curriculum. Our focus to support student growth and their ability to implement research-based academic practices is grounded in their understanding of how essential it is to be purposeful planners. The backwards planning process keeps the instructional planning process simple yet effective in keeping the student's needs at the center, a deep understanding of the desired instructional outcomes, the learning experiences where students own most of the cognitive load, and assessment measures to allow us to refine instruction to meet the needs of students. Some highlights of what teachers are doing to engage in this work is professional development and coaching that focuses on high levels of differentiation while designing rigorous learning experiences that stay true to the standards. Teachers are collaborating with related service providers to coordinate instruction and high levels of student application. Lastly, utilizing the TEACH model to support students in our highly specialized programs. When you visit our classrooms, the evidence of our work is in the instructional practices you can see, which include active participation of all students, students providing evidence of their thinking, productive struggles with challenging concepts that build students up rather than prevent them from doing their own learning, and classroom communities where students are treated with respect and dignity.
A second area of focus for our department is strengthening our teams to use a consistent multi-tiered problem-solving approach across our K-12 meeting structures. During these conversations, the multidisciplinary team considers the significance of least restrictive environment and its impact on our students each and every day. As Karen explained, LRE is not only a requirement of the state, but it's also a belief and philosophy of our district and our department. We believe that students with disabilities should be integrated with general education peers to the greatest extent possible throughout their school day. Our focus on supporting the team's growth to implement a multidisciplinary process is grounded in a data-driven approach that identifies individual student needs and programmatic needs as well. Some highlights of what teams are doing to engage in this work include student-focused data meetings and collaboration with our department experts to support student problem solving that maintains students in the least restrictive environment while fostering strong partnerships between our teams, families, and building leadership. Evidence of our work can be seen through clearly targeted goals, aligned supports and resources, progress that is defined and measured, and professional development aligned with areas of need. The last special education area of focus is aligned with implementing clear and consistent communication to all members of the department. This was directly related to feedback from the department in our annual survey, follow-up focus groups, and refinement with our leadership, with our teacher leaders. Our focus on supporting clear communication to the department has been framed around increasing consistent messaging K-12 through weekly communications. Additionally, we have created a special education dashboard that houses resources, PD offerings, CSE practices, and forms. We are deepening our connections with parents starting in the summer by providing each parent with an informational packet tailored to their child's services and supports, hosting coffee hours led by the directors, offering differentiated parent night presentations, and collaborating with our parent group Voice to support parent needs. A survey was sent this fall to our parents to gain insights of what resources they wanted. And lastly, the department will foster strong partnerships with all stakeholders, including our out-of-district programs, consultants, and specialized support services.
So celebrate what you've accomplished, but raise the bar a little higher each time you succeed. That's a quote by Mia Hamm that really frames our work. The work we've tackled these last 3 years, but also our future work. We have a lot to celebrate, which include the increase in research-based instructional practices across the continuum of special education programs, a strong belief in inclusivity, and shifts to support those communication structures K-12 that are consistent for all. The work continues with increasing performance on state assessments, improving our reading data, and increasing teams' understanding of data analysis to support backward planning.
We would like to highlight a small clip from our integrated co-taught teams. So we have a video of our 7th grade Orange team. You'll see Kelly O'Neill will be the first teacher that's talking. She's the special education teacher. And then the clip is going to shift to 2 students that are in our 8th grade ICT classrooms with their special education teacher, Cassidy Nelson. Oops. I might need a little technical support. Forward. Ha, here we go.
The best part of being an ICT teacher is definitely working with my colleagues. It is a seamless situation of walking into these classrooms.
And the other great part about ICT is the students really just see 2 English teachers, 2 science teachers, 2 social studies teachers, and they don't recognize that they're in an ICT class.
Yeah, I would say that the best part is really the fact that the kids have those 2 teachers, that they come to Kelly and I both equally for help, and they have all the experiences that all the other students have all day long.
Yeah, and I think it's really a benefit to all students, not just students with IEPs or different ability levels, but with having the two of us in there, we're able to group kids together differently, not just based on their ability level, but just in terms of comfort level, and have them have different interactions and have different sorts of help.
I like having two teachers in my classes because if one is working or teaching and I have a question, I can ask the other teacher.
I enjoy having two teachers in my classes because they keep me on track and keep encouraging me.
It's been really nice to work with all of the teachers on the team and co-teach with them, as well as see a variety of different kids with different abilities.
So that is our presentation for tonight, and we would take any questions that you have for us.
Questions, anyone? Very informative. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
see you in January.
Yes. Okay, we are at 7E. Approve the following trips. A senior trip to Boston, Massachusetts from 3/20 to 3/22 of 2025. Victor Indoor Percussion Ensemble to Toms River, New Jersey, 3/21 to 3/23. To participate in the WGI East Regional Championship and DECA to Orlando, Florida, from 4/26 to 4/30, 2025, to participate in the International Career Development Conference. A motion, please.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, second.
Lisa?
Lisa? Any comments or questions on these three great trips?
They all enjoy.
Yeah. No questions, no comments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item F, 7F, is policy review. The first reading of the following policy: weapons in school and the Gun-Free Schools Act, policy 8131. Had an opportunity to look that over. Any comments or questions at this point?
I actually had two questions. At the bottom of the policy, there's two very small sections. The first stating students with disabilities continue to be entitled to all rights set forth in the Individuals with Disabilities Act and Education Law, Article 89. This policy does not authorize suspension of students with disabilities in violation of those authorities. Dr. Terranova, can you expand on that a little bit, just based on its inclusion in this policy? Just so I think I'm confused over if a student with disabilities had a weapon on campus, it's a gun-free school zone. Can you just elaborate a little bit about what that brief section means?
If a student with disabilities had a weapon on school, then we would follow the same procedure as we did with a general ed student. The only difference would be if he or she, obviously, if they went to a superintendent's hearing for a long-term suspension, and they were found guilty in that hearing, then they would be entitled to what's called a manifestation meeting to decide whether the child's disability had a significant impact on the actual event.
Okay.
And then that would determine whether
Suspension was
the suspension would be continued, or potentially other placements could occur through the special education department.
Thank you. My second question was directly underneath that. This policy also does not diminish the authority of the board to offer courses and instruction in the safe use of firearms. Can you expand on that a little bit, please? I'm not aware that we do that.
We don't do that.
Okay.
No,
So
but we could.
Okay.
So it doesn't prohibit school districts from being able to do some type of work around safety
gun
of
use.
firearms.
Okay.
Gun use.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. But no, we don't currently, I don't believe, have any courses.
If the district held a course in that topic, would there be actual guns included in the course on campus?
I haven't actually thought that far ahead, but certainly we would have to follow the entire first part of this policy.
Right.
So, and no course can be approved without Board of Ed approval anyway, so I think we'd work through that. Maybe it would be off campus.
Get a different location. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
No further questions.
Other questions at this point? Okay, we'll see it again. We are at item 8, meeting reports. 8A is Monroe County School Board Association committee reports. Anyone?
Yes, on Monday, I attended 2 Monroe County School Board's advocacy meetings with our state senators and assemblyman representatives. There were 5 main topics that Monroe County School Boards discussed with all of them. One was on foundation aid, which we heard about earlier, our zero-emission buses, the free and reduced lunch program, safety and security, including emotional mental health services, and staff shortages. Monroe County School Board's prepared talking points to deliver to our representatives. We got some good feedback and questions, and some guidance on different things that we could do at the legislative breakfast that is happening on February 1st. So all good meetings, and our legislators were very engaged.
What are they serving for breakfast?
It's always a good breakfast.
I'm just saying. It's the most important update you probably got to give in about that.
It is at Shadow Lake again, by the way.
Okay, other reports? Any standing committee updates?
Is this where you want to
Pardon me?
you want to talk about the legislative idea?
The advocacy committee?
Yes.
Are we allowed to?
Are you allowed to talk about it? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to bring to the board, and I put this in an email recently, my work district has a larger advocacy committee that is composed of Board of Ed representatives, district administrative leadership, association and teacher leadership, other staff members, PTSA, and members of the larger community, be it business owners or just people who are not directly affiliated with my work district. And they have several initiatives that are underway. One is a form letter campaign for staff and community members to fill out a pre-written letter to legislators and sending them in with several of the talking points that Lisa referenced, and then also specific pieces to my district that I teach in. So it got me thinking after seeing this about 9-minute video that outlines what we know coming down the pike with the foundation aid changes and budgetary considerations coming into next year. It made me wonder if that would be something that this board may consider in conjunction with district leadership to just create a broad coalition around advocacy as we enter our budget. And I wanted to discuss it now because I feel that after the first of the year, things really start to ramp up. And if it's something that this body wanted to do, just having as much time to organize as possible. I think it's a way, personally, for our district community and the larger Victor Farmington community to rally behind our kids and our staff, because we know that this is going to potentially be a more complicated budget cycle with some unknowns with the foundation aid. And I think our community members and families have rallied behind us before, and it might be a good way to organize and get some really clear-cut things in place to contact our legislators as they enter their big budget cycle coming up in January.
Was there more?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea. I think we saw what happens when we engage with our community in our most recent capital project. I think we had, a huge turnout and a ton of support, and I think something like this could help us with our budget cycle coming up.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I would support it. My question is, how do we do it?
Right, and how quickly can we do it?
Yeah.
We have there's a board subcommittee that's the advocacy committee, correct, Mrs. Goodberlet?
Right, which is two of us.
Yeah, who's on
Who's
that?
on that? I'm just curious, I'm fuzzy.
Us too.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Lisa and me.
So-
It sounds like Elizabeth would be an extremely important addition to
I'd
that.
be very interested, but I don't want to railroad other people, but it's something that I'm really passionate about.
With your guidance and leadership, I think we could, facilitate this. How we would get other staff members and community members would be something that we would have to meet and think about. So perhaps maybe we would start with the three of us. And if anyone else was interested to be part of that, obviously we can't do it as 4 people, but one of us could drop out if others are interested in pursuing this.
If the group was interested in moving forward with this, I was hoping that if our schedules align for meeting with some of our legislators next week, I'm planning on attending one of the 3 days. I can't take all 3 because it's it's leading up to our school break. And I especially can't miss Friday with my students, but if you two or others are available Wednesday to meet or Thursday morning when we already have that legislative meeting on the schedule, I would definitely be open to sitting down and maybe hammering some of this out. Dr. Turner, if you wanted to join us just from the school end. So.
And then the other way we could do it, to have more of us, would be a workshop. It certainly would be acceptable to do a workshop with more than just 3 board members. It could be any number of us if we do a workshop.
Which I think would be great. The only reason why I would say maybe not is just what time is of the essence with organizing the group.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't want other people to be involved, but I feel that it's so hard for us to schedule a group of 7 outside of our Thursday meetings. But I definitely think it's imperative to keep the entire board involved and take any suggestions or take, directive from our group as a whole. I definitely think that's valuable.
You also have your board retreat next week.
Right.
On Tuesday. I know it's a full schedule. However, if you wanted to, if you ended early or you wanted to stay an extra half an hour, you could probably hash some of it out then as well.
It's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
I mean, we could start there, and then if there's more to hash out, the 3 of us could meet before one of those.
At least maybe get some direction from the whole board, and then the 3 of you meet to determine
next steps.
Well, and knowing that Amy's going to be there too, she would probably be really
Very
instrumental in helping with some organization.
Sure.
I think that's a great idea. Let's start there.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I would suggest that, well, first off, thank you, because I think my only question was going to be, why wouldn't we do this?
Right.
When we've engaged the community, which it's incumbent upon us to do, this community moves mountains. So I think the idea is great. I like especially with district leadership, faculty and staff is a huge voice. I wonder if there's a way to get the student voice represented as well.
Suggestion.
And then if we have ideas for some of the talking points or just what's churning through our minds, is potentially email those out prior to the workshop.
Sure.
That might kind of guide us during that time that we use.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds like we have a path forward.
Great.
Anything else under meeting reports? Seeing none. Upcoming events, the next regular board meeting is next year, Thursday, January 16th, 2025. And then we have a budget workshop on January 23rd, 2025.
And retreat next week.
Pardon me?
A retreat next week.
And a retreat next week, yep. Okay, anything else? So happy holidays, everyone. Motion to adjourn. Adam, second. Elizabeth. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? Motion carried. We have had a meeting. Jingle bells.
Board members, if you